Welcome, welcome. You're listening to 360 Info. I'm your host, Hamptonio. What you do for yourself depends on what you think of yourself. And what you think of yourself depends on what you know of yourself. And what you know of yourself depends on what you've been told of yourself. Yes, it looked like that thing that we call Ra, or the sun is shining. I think it's going to bless us with a decent weekend. We had the little rain or whatever. But, life goes on. We are here in Cleveland. We got a great show for you today. We got Professor Bayyinah Bello. This is one of our guest speakers in our August 7th program. She's going to be calling in on the show. It'll be a great show, and it's a chance for us to introduce her to our listening audience that some of us may not know, Professor Bello, but she's a very, very interesting lady and highly recommended by our good dear brother, Professor James Small. In the remote studio, we got Brother Vince. What's going on, Vince?
Oh, man, it's a beautiful day in Cleveland. Finally, at last,
Yeah.
We've been riding on the roller coaster again, man. Riding on the roller coaster.
Let's say, hold on.
Yeah. But
absolutely.
We're probably in a very good location with all of that being said. I know out west they're having, just record heat waves and whatnot. So the little discomfort.
Ain't no climate change.
Yeah.
Ain't no climate change. Ain't nothing wrong with the climate.
Yes, indeed. I just wanted to alert our listeners, too, that we do have a sales department. The 360 Info Network sales team is out there in the streets, and we're looking for more sponsors. So we've welcomed a few, and we're going to welcome some more. And some of that will be thanks to you. So if you're interested in being a sponsor, doing some advertising on 360 Info Network, reach out to our sales team at 216-526-1297. That's 216-526-1297. Brother Hamptonio, you got this fantastic event that's coming up on August 7th. And Professor Bello will be a part of that program, but you also have a few other luminaries who will be joining her in that session that will involve atonement and healing. You want to give us a clue?
Yes, our good dear brother, Dr. David Whitaker, he's going to be on presenting Dr. James Brown. Ow! Yeah, he's
not that one.
I'm not that one. He's going to be presenting as well, and our good dear brother again, Wayne B. Chandler. He's going. So along with the Sister Bello, it's a team that has to be reckoned with for sure. And we're going to attack this issue of this energy, of the coming changes and challenges, and why we need to be on point. And understand, because, if you remember, Wayne always used to talk about in his lectures about us being ready for this new paradigm shift as far as this energy changing on this planet. So with that being said, how can we be ready for this energy change? And this is what inspired me to put this together. How can we be ready for this energy change and to help us get through these trying times? If we cloud it with a lot of negative energy or not let the toxic thinking and things of that nature. So we're going to attack how that energy has affected us as a people and as a community, psychologically, physically, emotionally, spiritually, and cosmically. We're going to touch on all those areas and go through some healing processes for people who may want to start that healing process that particular day. So we're going to have breakout rooms to where we're looking at getting a Muslim imam, Baptist preacher, Catholic, Yoruba priest, and to where if you want to at that point start that journey, you may be inspired enough to try to go to cold turkey right then and start doing something to start this journey of recovery. And so we want to have that available, and we can go through some other positive affirmations and have our guest speakers speak and have some drumming as well. Let's touch the spirit with the spirit of the drum that's all in that bass rhythmic entertainment that we all tend to love with that boom boom. That's the heartbeat. So and we're in on that particular high note. So it's August 7th at Wings Academy on 106, I believe, 10615 La Matière. So and that's I was inspired to do that because we have to prepare ourselves and ready ourselves for the change, because we all know that something is going on in the planet. We may not know what it is, but something is going on.
Oh yeah, there are definitely a lot of energies that are present that are affecting change, I would say, and I think programs like this are part of the process of affecting change. So it's just a great thing to be involved in things that take a role in moving the needle forward. So as we wait for I don't know why I want to call her Dr. Bello. Professor Bello to join us. I just thought I'd mention a few things that are going on over at Larchmere Arts. Many may know that we closed an exhibition within the past couple of weeks that was installed by the Museum of Contemporary Art Cleveland. We're doing just a little bit of renovation over there in the next couple of weeks, and then we're going to start doing more programming, so you can look forward to some concerts. I'm talking to a young man who plays multiple instruments, and he's going to join me and my drummer, Rashawn Blake, in an event that will take place on July 17th. I'm also having some conversation with Ken LeGrand of Horns and Things, and we're looking at the possibility of him doing a concert on August 20th. And then we have some folks who are looking to utilize the space to have some private functions. So we will be welcoming a Ghanaian artist who has been on our walls in the past. A couple years ago, he's returning from Ghana to do an exhibition. He's actually going to land in our space first before he goes out into the rest of the community. And then we'll be doing some other art shows at Larchmere Arts as well. So we're bringing music back, we're bringing the spoken word back, and we're just going to get things going. And we also will be welcoming Dr. Whitaker, Kwa David Whitaker, Nana Kra Kwamina. He's going to be doing an event at the end of August, something that he's got a burning passion to deliver to Cleveland and the rest of the nation. So a lot of good things coming your way from Larchmere Arts, as well as we collaborate to facilitate healing and the disbursement of culture of our people here in Cleveland and around the world.
Yeah, all of that is, like I say, it's all good, all important. We have to, with things that are going on right now in the country, we can't be asleep at the wheel. We can't be asleep at the wheel. We have to, the things I've been studying lately is all evolved around our consciousness and our reality. And I'm a true believer now that, you change your consciousness, you change your reality. And the question is now, who is controlling our reality? What mechanisms have been put in place to sustain the type of culture and institutionalized type of behavior that is have taken us, to where we at right now. And before healing can take place, as they say in the substance abuse arena, that you first got to recognize that you have a problem. And the problem that we have is a lot of us walking around and don't really recognize that, I was just talking with Dr. Whitaker that, we really believe that our thoughts is our thoughts. We really believe that, we come to these conclusions ourselves on it. But if you're being constantly taught and brainwashed from adolescence all the way into adult to think a certain kind of way, those are not your thoughts. You've been coerced and I hate to use the word brainwashed, but brainwashed into thinking and into this type of way. And that's why we defend it so adamantly. We defend, these things that we tend to partake in our daily operation. And like what Dr. Wilson say, Amos Wilson will say that, everything you do supports the same problems that you have in this country. Everything that you do is supportive of our situation that we are in, and you don't even recognize it and don't know it. So, it's very interesting, and it's something that we need to break ourselves out from. And I think that's the only way the recovery is going to take place, and we're going to get in that place that we need to be.
Well,
being self-sufficient.
Yes, and reality is that right now we are at war. As I looked at the way things rolled out within the past couple of years, I'm going back to 2019. Towards the end of 2019 and the beginning of 2020, I reached a conclusion within my own mind that World War III, as we say in the hood, is cold in effect. World War III has already started, and, the real tragedy of it is that people really don't understand that there is a war going on. We've kind of been lulled into a sense of complacency that just is willing to accept whatever we're told in order to get back to normal, as we say all the time. As you've been doing research, I'll say that I've been doing research as well. And one of the things that I've discovered within the past year or so is just this global effort that is afoot right now to organize and control populations. I learned of this entity called the World Economic Forum that came into play a couple years ago, actually, when they had a meeting in Davos. And you had all these non-governmental entities that came into the picture, as well as government officials, and they are working together to effect a plan that has been created by a few individuals. And we have to be aware of this plan, how it's being affected, and how it is going to be rolled out, or it is being rolled out as we speak. We've reached the quarter past the hour mark here on 360 Info Network, and we got so carried away with conversation that we neglected to go to a break. So let's do that. We're going to take this quick break, and hopefully Professor Bello will join us soon. You're listening to 360 Info Network on AM 1490 WERE with your hosts, Hamptonio and Vince Robinson. We'll be right back. Welcome back, 360 Info Network with Hamptonio and yours truly, Vince Robinson. And we have a guest on the line. She is Bayyinah Bello. She was born actually the day before my mother, March 25th, 1948. She's a spouse of deep African thought and a lover of the history of Haiti. She discovered her commitment to education before the age of 10 and was introduced to this field through literacy programs in Africa. Her professional career began in 1969 in the United States of America. She discovered the joys of writing in 1970 at the birth of her firstborn, for whom she wrote her first children's story in Nigeria. She uncovered her passion for history and Arabic language, which allowed her to explore other literary and historical visions. We know her as an expert on Pan African history, and specifically the history of Haiti, where she has done a book called Sheroes of the Haitian Revolution, and I'm sure she speaks fluent French. I know the character, the central character that she speaks about in her book has a long name that I'm not going to attempt to pronounce. I will let her do the heavy lifting for us. So let's welcome to 360 Info Network, Professor Bayyinah Bello.
Thank you very much, and it's a pleasure.
Yes, it's a pleasure to have you, sister.
Pleasure to be with you.
Yes, speaking French, English, Arabic, and Hausa language. And I looked that up to be very interesting. It's a language that's in around Nigeria and Niger and some parts of Ghana and Cameroon. With studying and some of the things that you kind of go and teach all over the world, and knowing thyself. In my research, it seems to lead me to believe as well that the key to understanding a lot of historical issues is linguistics. I feel that linguistics would kind of like open the door and the understanding for a lot of the mishaps that we come to know and believe about history and who was these people and biblical characters and things like that. I feel if you zero in on the linguistics, it would tell you a lot about the people. What's your thoughts on that, Professor Bello?
Absolutely. The language is the vehicle that carries the culture. So all the perceptions, all the genealogy, so much is carried through the language. The history, for example, most people are not aware that most proverbs are historical information. When an Haitian person says, you can count on me, I'm going to do just like Jean-Jacques to get this done for you. We're talking about Jean-Jacques Dessalines, because this is the man who brought us from slavery to freedom. So anytime somebody feels powerful and capable of accomplishing, we say, I will do it just like Jean-Jacques. So every proverb carries historical information. So the language is like the boat that carries the entire culture, the perceptions, the conceptions. When Haitians sing, the Queen's son have arrived, people who are thinking from a French way will say, oh, how can they say queen for the son? The son is male. But that's only in the French perception of things. The son is masculine. But in our perception, the son is feminine. And she's a mother, and she's a queen. She's royal. And we are her children. So it's different perceptions.
Right. Because that's, I was listening to one of your videos, and you made something that was very profound and made me start thinking when you spoke about language and understanding a person's language. We have to come to understand that you are looking in the eyes and the views of that particular ethnic culture. And it may vary from you, or it may not. You kind of wrapped up into that, the way that particular person sees the world, and it could be very different from your understanding. Would you agree?
Absolutely. Even though languages may have similar sounding words phonetically, but the same word doesn't mean the same thing in two languages, two different languages. It doesn't mean the same perception. Okay? I remember in Togo, for example, and somebody said, oh, this woman is so loud. She must be a prostitute. And I couldn't believe that, because somebody laughed aloud or spoke aloud, they saw this person as a prostitute. Well, after living a while in Togo, I realized Togolese people are very soft-spoken people. They hardly ever raise their voice. And women are even softer than men, lower than men in the volume. So then I understood why, in their perception, somebody from the islands who come and speak, like I do, is a prostitute.
Oh, man. So you got to understand the people and where you're at in the surroundings. I guess that's why they say when you travel, you get to know the people, know a little bit about the people in the culture before you go there, so you can have a better understanding.
Very true. Very true. So,
yeah, but you know what? Also, I find very interesting in some of your studies of dealing with the centenarians. What did you find very interesting in dealing with folks that's living 115, 120, 123 years of age? And what took your interest there to sit down and talk to them?
The first thing that brought this to my attention was in studying archery. As we study archery, we come across, for example, Toussaint Louverture's adoptive mother, who has been in slavery for more than 60 years and was 105 at the time they arrested Toussaint. Toussaint's godfather, Pierre-Simon Baptiste, was 116. Marie-Claire Heureuse, Félicité Bonheur Dessalines' wife, who became empress, who has a fabulous life from slave to empress, lives to be 110 years old. So as I came across all these many centenarians in our archery, I started to wonder, was this still a reality in Haiti? So that's how I began my research. And sure enough, yes. And I ran across people 100, 110, 120, 126. Seems to be 126 seems to be like a key age. But I did meet one person 132, one person 129. So, yes, we have that resilience. We have that physical, spiritual, biological resilience in us that makes us go a lot further than what other people may think. And furthermore, that research showed that at the time, let's say in 2009, for example, all 12 oldest people in Cuba were Haitians. 3 or 4 of oldest people, centenarians, in the U.S., in California, were Haitian women. The oldest person in Canada, Haitian woman. So, as you know, we looked all around and saw not only did we live long at home, but even people living in towns and places where there are all kinds of anti-life realities, yet they survive.
Ooh.
That's really interesting. I'm just reflecting on some recent travels to Africa and noticing how long people live over there. I can remember specifically being in the town of Kumasi and seeing a death notice that was posted on the side of a wall, and it was someone who lived to the age of 120. While I was in the Adinkra village, there was someone there who was, I think she was like 103, 104 years old. And apparently, you know, we do have longevity, but then when we think about life expectancy, you know, when you look at how they rate African countries, they always talk about how limited those life expectancies are. But then, as you pointed out, there are members of our race who are having long lives. So we're getting a couple of different narratives. But you put it within the context of being at home, and I'm just wondering how our connection to culture and history affects our life expectancy. Do you have any thoughts about why that might be?
Absolutely. You see, in the Bambara culture, in the Pearl culture, it was considered a normal person lives to be 126. That's normal life. You have to go beyond 126 for people to talk about you as an older person. You see? But a regular person is 126, and that was ordinary. And that's why there were all these circles of centenarians in those different cultures. Now, that is pre-colonial reality. Now, once colonialism and slavery stepped in, first of all, we are not the doers, we're not the ones doing the studies on ourselves. So foreigners come in and they declare, for example, in Haiti, I have read all the, the census. Census? When you go count the people, the population.
Yeah.
Okay. All of this is always done by some foreign somebody. And all the ones I had the opportunity to read, none of them have an Haitian beyond 60 years old.
Wow.
So all their data is between birth and 60. Now, I'm 73 years old, so I probably don't count in the latest census either. So all of us who take their words as God's words. So whenever, the French, the British, the U.S. say, oh, yes, the Haitians' expectancy is 42 years. And while I'm reading this on a document, I had a television program with 12 centenarians answering questions, being interviewed.
Whoa. Okay.
12 of them. talking, with their mind clear, with their physical. These are people who do their business themselves. They take their bath. They don't have no nurse. They have no wheelchairs. They have no support. They have to fend for themselves on a daily basis. The government does not give them a dime. And they are. You see? So this is the kind of stuff we put in our heads, whatever they want to put in our heads, and we, go away from our reality. We live away from reality.
That's a really interesting perspective, and I'm just thinking about the Christian context of life expectancy. I think it's like 60 or 40 or whatever, but 60 would limit you to 60 years and a few more. But when you look at things in a historical perspective, you can see that we've had much longer life. You've written this book, Sheroes of the Haitian.
Let me just say this to that too. Right now in Haiti, the woman who's very well known for a historian is 103 years old, and until now she's still right. She still stand up and have interviews with journalists, and she has her opinion on what's going on. She will talk to the president. She will talk to whatever problem is the country is facing. She has her opinion on it. I may not agree with her, but I admire 103. She turned 103 on June 13th this year. So when you look at these situations, and she's not the only one. I've met so many centenarians who are very active, who are doing, but you never see an international paper want to talk about anything about Haitian centenarians in Haiti.
Wow. See, you know what, Professor? See, and I think that kind of leads into one of the things that you always talk about, in your interviews, and we I think we'd be remiss, and on the upcoming August 7th program, I know you're going to touch on it as well, is knowing thyself. Knowing thyself, you see, because, like I said, we went, because our listeners may not have picked it up. Instead of saying history, she said our story, our story. Yeah, telling our story. Telling our story and knowing our history, because we what kind of mental issues have taken place when we think that the folks that have oppressed us is going to give us all. I don't know why we haven't really just picked that up now. That they know they're going to tell their story, because history always say the winners always tell the story. So we should be looking and seeing and talking to people like yourself and other scholars on what knowledge do we know about ourselves? What has our ancestors left for us to know about ourselves? So you preach that all the time. You want to touch on that a little bit about knowing ourselves and the importance of that?
Certainly. The greatest knowledge is the knowledge of self. There is no two. If I do not know Bayyinah, then I know nothing. I could say, yes, I have a degree in linguistics, and I have a PhD in that, and I have a master's in the other one. I know none of it. Because I have to be me in order to receive the other knowledge. You see, when a snake has its personality, and because of knowing itself, snake knows how to go around and trick humans and do all kinds of things to protect its own life. That's normal. The dog has a different way of looking at the world because he's a dog. The cat, the bird, the fish wouldn't dream of some wonderful place outside of the water because the fish knows itself. And it knows one of the things is to protect your species, protect your existence. So humans who have gone through colonization and slavery have lost the knowledge of self. So the first step is to first admit, take charge of this information. I am not myself, no matter what. I may have a car, I may have 2 houses, I may have $1,000, $100,000 in the bank, but I don't know who I am. So that's why I need to go back and get that vital information, knowledge of self. Once I know who I am, my house does not control me. My car does not control me. I'm not going to kill somebody for their car because I know who I am and I know what belongs to me will always be with me. So, you see, if we go to training our people to the knowledge of self, then we would not have corrupted governments. Corruption is part of the lack of knowledge of self that makes you want what don't belongs to you. You don't understand you are just one, but you don't even exist except within the collective. You're talking to me not because you know me, but because as an Haitian woman, within the Haitian collective, I exist. And if I think I'm going to rise, I'm Bayyinah Bello, blah, 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 da, 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 and then I take away the IT, the collective Haitian population, then I will be nothing and I'll be easily destroyed.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's me and Dr. Whitaker just had a conversation that he gave a close analogy because we wonder, like, why are we thinking this particular way? And when you brought up the animals, it just reflected what we was just talking about. We have to think of how can a person, take like you said, that snake or cat or dog, and train them to use some psychology to train them to do things that are not normal to them, out of their instinctual behavior. If they could do that to animals and make a whale jump up in a little tank, take him out of his environment, and then impose on him certain stressors or certain things to get him to act in a certain type of way, if he can do that to the animals, this is what is going on with us. So for him to be masterful and taking us and training us, because in so many words, that's what he's done, and trained us to be something else that is against our natural instinctive way of being, an African-centered mind, that is a feat to be talked about and recognized,
Absolutely. Absolutely. It's the conditioning, and that's the key thing. Once we understand that we are conditioned, then we can undo it. But as long as we're thinking that we are who we are, forgetting about the conditioning, then we don't understand anything. And we will continue to be conditioned, more and more conditioned. Different styles of slaveries will be established. You have the credit card slavery. You have the hookup on the telephone slavery. You will be enslaved in many different forms, many different ways, and you won't even recognize it. Yeah. I'm sorry. Someone is calling me. I'll have to take a couple minutes to deal with this. Unless we can close it now, or I can come back.
No problem. We can talk a little bit before you get and have you come back. No problem. Just take your call and we come right back. Okay.
All right. I'll see you in a minute. Okay. Thank you.
Okay. All right. Yes.
Sure.
I think that's I think that is very important that what she touched on, early on in the show, and this whole piece of knowledge of self. So she's going to on August 7th when we have her come in, she's going to talk about that expound on that a little bit, but also talk in the areas of spirituality as well in dealing with this, because I think that's what's been some of the pieces has been holding us back, because we got to attack this thing psychologically. It's no other way to get us out of this particular point. I gave an analogy of it's like we're like a lion, but someone and some mechanism has convinced us that we are a pussycat. Instead of laying out that big roar, we going meow. How can that be? What mechanisms were put in place to convince us to go against our own instinctive natural behavior, that all this knowledge has been passed on to us from generations to generations from our ancestors, that civilized the whole world, now has convinced us that we are pussycat at this particular time. That's some deep psychological situations that mechanisms that are going on. So and one thing that I think is even deep as well is dealing with energy and vibrations. Just the very words and the things that you say and through languages help deepens, the problem. Linguistics is very important, and linguistics is nothing but verbiage and words and things like that. So those and sounds, Vince, you in the musical piece on how we know how sounds and vibrations and energy have us to feel a certain kind of way. So that's all connected as well. And so we need to understand that.
Well, I think the whole conversation about, lack of knowledge of self, when many of us arrived on these shores, we arrived in a situation where they wanted to disconnect us from our language, disconnect us from our traditions, our rituals, the things that made us who we are. And then they supplanted our understanding or knowledge of ourselves with one that they would give us. And that was one in which we took a dimmer view of ourselves. We began to hate ourselves. And being disconnected from our knowledge of ourselves allowed us to be that pussycat that you just mentioned. That's one of the reasons that it's so important for us to have these conversations about what happened, and to use her word, historically, understanding the duality of history and being a he and she thing, just as our view of the cosmos is a he and she thing. It's a masculine and feminine, both. So we'll get back to more conversation about that and other things right here on 360 Info Network, right here on AM 1490 WERE. I'm Vince Robinson, along with Hamptonio and our guest, who has been Professor Bayyinah Bello. We'll be right back after these messages. We're back, 360 Info Network, right here on AM 1490 with your hosts, Hamptonio, and yours truly, Vince Robinson. We've been having a conversation with Professor Bayyinah Bello, who is an expert on Pan African history and specifically the history of Haiti. During the break, we were just talking about the significance of the Haitian Revolution. It was a revolution that was largely successful because of the connection of the Haitians to their concept of what God is. And I was just making the point as we were having the conversation about how important it is to know about that. We've been having conversations about critical race theory, and how they want to whitewash history, or our story, as she would say, in the classrooms of kindergarten through 12, and who knows, it might even reach at some point into higher education. How they want to just erase any evidence or vestiges of racism from the story that's being told about what happened in the past. So, while you have all these efforts to erase history, we need to be engaged in efforts to rewrite that story so that it is more inclusive and it is more accurate as well. What are your thoughts about that?
Yeah, absolutely, and that's something that we really have to pay attention to, because when we talk about this energy, our ancestors have said that, and even biblically it said, that all truth shall be unveiled. The truth is going to be told, and I think, some of these folks who have gotten a hold to a lot of our historical data understands this. And this is the big fight and the big push that is going on the globe, because change is being ushered in, and they're trying to stop this change from happening and going to any lengths, great lengths, to keep things in status quo. And so we need to understand that. So when you got a person that is desperate to maintain control, look at the things that's going on in this country. He is desperate to maintain control. So that means that they would do about anything in order to maintain that. So you can see that he's going against things that has been prophesied about the changing of the guard. So we need to, and that, I guess with that being said, that's why we need to shore up ourselves as much as we can, and getting ready for the upcoming challenges, because he is serious about getting the country back, getting in certain positions, putting us in the back seat, because we're dealing with some physiological issues that they're dealing with as far as population is concerned, zero population growth. Folks are coming to their own and understanding of who they are. Africans is doing something, and this change is happening. So we have to be able to, and that's why this program coming up August 7th is important, because we got to sharpen our tools and ready ourselves and cleanse ourselves. We can't hold on to this petty stuff that we've been holding on to. I'm Muslim, and my brother, he decided to go down the road of being a Baptist, but so we can't do nothing together. We ain't speaking to each other. Come on. And where we at right now in 2021 with insurrections and revolutions and everything going on, we're going to hold on to that. We got to get rid of that negative energy and move on and be and raise to that God consciousness, so we can listen to that little voice inside that's going to help us guide us through this mess, this war that we're going into.
I was sent something last week that was extremely provocative and insightful. When we began this conversation, we were talking about Professor Bello being a linguist. What I received was something from Noam Chomsky, who was also a very prominent linguist on the international scene. And he's talking about 10 media manipulation strategies. And I think it's really relevant to our conversation right now. I'm not going to go through all 10 of them, but there are a couple of them that I thought were really interesting that provide some interesting context for our conversation today. The first one is the strategy of distraction. The primordial element of social control is the distraction strategy, which consists of diverting the public's attention from major problems and the changes decided by political and economic elites through the flooding technique, or flooding continuous distractions and insignificant information. Distraction strategy is also essential to prevent public from becoming interested in essential knowledge in the area of science, economics, psychology, neurobiology, and cybernetics. And I would have to add history to that list of things. Keeping the audience's attention deviated from real social problems, imprisoned by themes without real importance, keeping the public busy with no time to think, back to the farm like other animals. And the second one is one that's extremely relevant right now, and that is creating problems and then offering the solutions. This method is also called a problem reaction solution. It creates a problem, a situation planned to cause a certain reaction from the public with the aim that this is the source of the measures they want to accept. For example, and this is really key right here, letting urban violence intensify or organize bloody attacks with the aim of the public being those requiring security laws and policies to the detriment of freedom. Also, create an economic crisis to make social rights demotion and dismantle public services as a necessary evil. That's just the first two, brother. That describes exactly what's going on in the world today on a couple of different fronts. And it underscores the importance of us knowing ourselves and knowing the truth and not paying attention to train wreck after train wreck after train wreck after train wreck, because they always follow one with another one. And then you get so consumed with that train wreck that you lose focus on what you should be doing to maintain a peaceful equilibrium.
Absolutely. Dr. Amos Wilson said the best way to immobilize a people or community is to keep them consumed in their own discord, never getting anything done, and that's what's been done to us, all of that, and those distractions, and it's the game. It's the game. But until you, like he also goes on to say about consciousness and your reality. So who is creating your reality? Who's dictating the narrative? And we have to come to understanding that it's somebody else, and it's somebody else that don't necessarily think like you think. Our behavior is not normal African-centered behavior. And he goes on to say, when you talk about slavery, that was back then, that's not affecting us. Then he goes on to say, what is your name? What is the food that you eat? Are you speaking the language of your native? Are you the gods and stuff you worship? Is it of your native? So if we go back into what she's saying about linguistics and behavior and how it controls the culture and your system, your value system, and all of that, then you still enslaved. You're still having the effects of slavery. It's no different. And everything you do compulsively still generates on the behalf of your slave owner, and in closing, and he made a statement, because we would say something about, those in Africa, are they under the foot of and owe everybody all kind of money over in Africa, enslaved economically and whatever. He said, well, tell me then, how many of you owe a large sum of money to somebody that is African American? Who you owe debt to? Any large amount of money that you owe to somebody that is black? No. you indebted as well. And we okay with that and giving it. So that's a psychological issue and a conscientious issue that we have to deal with. It's amazing.
Yeah, well, what's really amazing is that there are so many folks in this country who are slaves and who don't realize that they are.
That's it.
That's it. I mean?
That's it right there.
And it's just like the sister was pointing out at the beginning of the show. I mean, if you got a credit card, you're a slave because you got a debt that needs to be paid. And the way they have... The way they have those odds stacked against you, you will never climb out from under that debt. If you have a college degree, more than likely you a slave because you got college loan debt.
See, but the thing with that, Vince, it's debt is bad, but it wouldn't be as bad if you was owing it to your community and your people. It's to somebody else. Yeah. Because that would show if you owe it to your people, so you would see that that money is being circulated at least to your own folks. You know what I'm saying? It's going out to somebody else.
Bruh, I can think of about 3 or 4 people that owe me $30,000-$40,000 right now. So,
oh Lord.
So there are black folks who owe black folks. So don't get that twisted. But I hear what you're saying. In a proverbial sense, it is very true.
Right.
And the other tragedy of that is that $1.3 trillion passes through our hands, but only 3% of it remains with us. That's really sad. Talk about a debt.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, but it all starts with your consciousness, So you look like we may not get Professor Bello in this. We might try to get her on before the conference comes. But to reiterate that, that's why I think this thing is important on August 7th. If you need tickets, give me a call, 216-323-6155. 216-323-6155. You want to get tickets? Tickets is only $10. I wish I could do it free for you people. You know me. I don't try to charge you a whole bunch of money to do anything. If you want to be a sponsor as well, you can give me a call. If you want to make donations to the cause of bringing Sister Bello in. But this is, I think, is what we needed to begin our journey, or to help our journey for those who's already there on the road to recovery. Because in closing, with Dr. Woodson, once you control a person's mind, you don't have to worry about their actions. They'll go to a back door without you telling them to go to a back door. And if a back door ain't there, they will create a back door. So until we get into that mindset, all these groups, organizations, and meetings and all that stuff won't happen. We got to exercise this, like Wilson said, this demon that is within us.
Okay, we got to run. Thanks, Tristan, for a fine show today, and thank you for listening to 360 Info Network. Know yourself, love yourself, be yourself. Make today a great day, Cleveland. Peace.
Peace.